profess, protect, provide. What a conversation this can be in couplehood today. And yet, it is a conversation that rarely gets spoken of until two people come really close together, say that they're going to have a relationship, say that they're committed, say that they're in love, say that you're my person, and then this conversation comes up. Now, the profess part, that's something that we typically profess our feelings, our thoughts, our commitment to somebody prematurely. So we don't have a whole lot of trouble professing. It's just if we are actually in alignment to what we're professing, right? So when we profess something to somebody, I've heard numerous times men and women alike saying, oh my goodness, I found my person. This is my husband. This is my wife. I'm going to marry this person. We're going to be, my soulmate. This is the one. And they've come to that conclusion typically because they're in a state of limerence. They have a ton of chemistry with somebody and they feel like nothing could be greater than this, right? And I often ask the person, well, didn't you have chemistry with the last 3 people? And didn't you have all these butterflies and stuff on the front side of those relationships too? Because the majority of the time we do, right? And here we are professing our love, professing our commitment. Then there are the people who are commitment phobes, and they struggle with professing exactly what their ideas are for the relationship, how they want to define, how they want to move forward, making plans. They're skittish for whatever the reason. And so we just label them commitment phobes. You have commitment issues, right? And to you, I'd say learn how to vocalize what your heart is saying at the right time, right? But the two that I really want to talk about today is the protect and the provide. And we're going to hit the provide big time, okay? So when we look at modern dating and relating comparative to old school dating and relating, a lot that went into the relationship, the courting, the choosing a partner just 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, right? And all the way back for all of humanity's existence really came down to what the man could provide protection-wise and provide financially, security-wise, right? And the protection was thought of the physical type of protection, to protect your woman and your house and your children. Are you strong enough, right? And then flip side to the female, it was more on, are you protecting and nurturing the house and the children, our relationship? And what are you providing in that? Are you a good mother? Are you a good partner? Sexually speaking, that was on the table, right? But a lot of it was more even on the lines of the turning over of the name to a new generation. And with that, the finances, the property, right? All of that kind of stuff. And that was dependent on if the woman could produce, right? And if the guy could produce. So there was that. Modern world. And that was a very simplified version, okay? But modern world. None of that really plays a role anymore. Or at least we'd like it not to. We would like to say that it doesn't play a role. We would like to say that we're not caught up on those primal needs, expectations, and relationship qualifiers. And so in our world today, we would like to say that, men and women are equal, that what a man can do, a woman can do, for the most part. What a woman can do, a man can do, for the most part, outside of them have babies, right? Like, find me a guy that can have a baby still today, even with all of our science and stuff. But when we get into the protect portion, what we really are focused on today, and even if we roll back the clock 50 years, what was there was a protecting of the heart, a protecting of our emotions, to know that we are emotionally safe with somebody. And in modern dating and relating, this is all the more on the forefront of the relationship container. And it is because we have learned so much about emotional maturity. We understand these words of trauma, PTSD, triggers, right? So we all are very accustomed to hearing these words. And with that, we go, okay, oh, that person's narcissistic. Oh, that person is, sabotaging relationships like this. They're control freaks. They're high anxiety. They're psychotic, whatever words you want to use, right? So we will look at different types of people and we will basically classify them as toxic. And we'll say, I don't want to be in a toxic relationship. And what we're saying there is not so much the fear of the physical necessarily, although that does play a role, but even more so a fear of the emotional harm, right? So we want our emotional well-being to be at the forefront of the relationship on both sides. So we don't want to be in these toxic relationships. And that's what protect means today, okay? Do we still, as women, want men who are strong, who can physically protect us, who have our physical protection there? Yes. Do we want to feel protected security-wise in our home, in our finances? Absolutely. Do we want to feel protected if we are, have been in relationship before, have children? One of the big protection pieces is this person going to protect my children like they were their own? Are they a good co-parent, right? So that's another piece of that protection. Is this person going to protect what I've built over the course of my life? That's another piece of protection in relationship, right? And then we have to provide. And this one, that money is among the top 5 issues that cause conflict in relationship today. Money does. I mean, it's right up there with sex, with money and sex. Like those are 2 of the biggest issues that really rise up in relationship. And there's a whole bunch of other things, but those are 2 that like, yeah, they're like probably 1 and 2. But in the top 5, money is one of those big challenges. And in today's world, we are in this interesting dynamic where some people, men and women alike, and I speak out to the people who are 40 plus, who are looking for their life mate, that person who's going to do the rest of the time with them, right? And they themselves and this other person have spent a lot of years building a life of their own. Okay, so they have children. You have retirement. You've built a business. Maybe you've lost everything. Maybe you have a big nest egg. Who knows, right? You're in multiple different areas of life, different things, different challenges. But the life that you've built, you're pretty solid in who you are. You've had different relationship experiences, different wounds there. And now you're coming into a new relationship, 40 plus, and you are looking at the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life, right? You have less years ahead of you, most likely, unless you really take good care of yourself, right? But for the majority of people, there's less years ahead of them than what they've already lived at this point in time. And the majority of people really don't enter into relationship at this point in time, or even in their 20s, but definitely at this point in time, wanting to be a nurse or a purse, right? As not something that any man or woman really ultimately wants, is that we don't want to just go in knowing that we are going to be purchasing a partner that is going to need the nurse or need the purse at extreme levels. With that said, we also go into relationship at this point in our lives, in our 40s plus, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, with this desire to know that somebody's going to be there when things get really tough, when it gets rocky, and when we need exactly what we don't want, a nurse or a purse, right? So this providing piece around money. I've never met a man 40 plus who said, oh, I really want a woman who is dead broke, has a whole bunch of responsibilities, can't do it for herself at all, and is willing to do whatever it takes to get what I have. Okay? Not for the long haul. He might be into it for the short span, but not for the long span, right? And what that is saying is that men in their 40s plus and women in their 40s plus want a partner that is stable, a partner that not only is comfortable in their own skin and is willing to do the work needed for themselves and for the relationship, but is also comfortable to really get in there and do what it takes to create stability, to build that future, those dreams, those goals, okay? So, interesting statistic while we're on provide. Did you know that women across the board, okay, now this is just across the board, it's basic statistic here, make 85 cents on the dollar for every dollar that a man makes. So we still make less than what men do. Women also have far smaller retirement accounts than what men have, okay, across the board. And with that, it is no wonder that women also base a lot of relationship stuff around security is the word that we'll say. A woman will say, I want security, I want safety. What she's saying is that she wants to know that she's going to be provided for, okay? And a lot of men out there are going to cringe at this because they're like, nope, that's, that's not what I'm here for. I don't want to do that. But you have to ask yourself, do I love her? Am I willing to go the long haul with her? And you need to really examine where the relationship is at. Now, I've heard a lot of people, men and women alike, want this really early on in the relationship. They want that level of commitment where they're blending everything together. And I was talking to a gentleman a couple weeks ago, and he said, if I was to get married again, there would be no way that we'd have separate bank accounts. There would be no way that we would have, separate names on different things. Everything would be ours together, right? It's a very old school way of thinking about it, okay? Then, just recently, a couple days ago, I spoke with a man who was the direct opposite of this. He said, I've worked a lifetime to get what I have. I've had some really bad experiences back there. I've had to pay off millions of dollars to an ex-wife, right? And there's no way that I'm willing to sacrifice and give up all that I've attained and worked my life for, even if I get married. Even if I marry this woman that I'm dating, I don't want to blend it all together. I want her to have her own bank account, her own finances. I want to have my own bank account, my own finances. We can do things together, but we're going to keep it very equal. Okay? What's right? What's wrong? There isn't. There isn't a right or a wrong. It's a what's right for you. But what needs to be considered is, where are you making these statements at? Is it early in the relationship, or is it at a commitment level in the relationship? If you're just dating, and ladies out there, if you're dating a guy, and yeah, granted, if he says, let's go out on a date, honey, and then he makes you pay, well, that's not a good sign, right? That's not being a gentleman. With that said, you shouldn't say, hey babe, let's go on this trip. Oh, and you're paying for it. Right? Like, hey, I want to go on this trip and you're paying for it. Maybe there's a coming together there in some fashion to make it happen. unless that's been decided, unless one person really wants to or not. But the conversation around money must happen in the relationship. And what does that money story look like for each individual? Because we were all raised differently. If one person came from wealth and another person came from being poor and really had to struggle, whose parents died with nothing basically, and the other person's parents passed away with, a magnitude of money over there, their views on money are going to be completely different. I was speaking with somebody earlier today, and he made mention that, I grew up with parents that grew up in the Depression. So that view of money transferred over to me, right? I grew up with a mother who went through Germany in World War II and concentration camps, and she hoarded everything, and she had such a scarcity mindset. My father worked really hard, but money didn't mean anything to him. He just took care of the basics. He wasn't concerned about certain things. I grew up extremely poor. So there was a lot of scarcity mindset that came into that with my money picture. So in my relationship, I have to be conscientious that I have a natural tendency to view things from a scarcity mindset, okay? And I have to vocalize that to my partner. I have to say, oh, I'm not comfortable right there. Oh, that's bringing up fear. I have a challenge in receiving things from my partner when it constitutes financial expressions, right? And that's a lot of what goes on in relationship, male and female alike. It doesn't much matter. There is a lot of proof that says that if a woman makes more money than the man, then there's relationship issues that can arise from that. That's like big time issues. And a lot of that has to come down to the money story that a lot of men and unfortunately a lot of women today carry. And that is that money equals power, equals respect. Okay. So ask yourself first, what does money mean to me? What is the money story that I hold? And if you're dating somebody, or you're in a relationship, or you're married, right? Or a domestic union, ask your partner, what's your relationship with money here? What is your money story? Like, how did your parents grow up? How did your grandparents grow up? What's your view on it? Are you really holding on to it tight? Or are you a little bit looser there? The conversation around finances, with it being in the top 5 of challenges that couples deal with, I can tell you it's best to have this early on in the relationship, the dating phase, than really getting into that level of commitment. And understanding that everything can alter and shift as we grow together. But back to that nurse and purse concept, that as we age, as we come together, the question to ask yourself is, if you're over the age of 40 and you're looking for your significant other, is what am I really wanting in a relationship? Am I just wanting a relationship? Am I just wanting to date and play, enjoy myself? Or am I wanting a partnership? Because those are 3 different things: dating, relationship, partnership. Partnership is that marriage container. Partnership is where things do mesh together. Partnership is the understanding that we're growing older. Our bodies are going to give out someday. There's going to be financial issues that might arise, health issues that might arise. And this is where the partnership comes into play. This is the I got your back, you got mine. I'm willing to help at levels that I wouldn't be willing to help over here in the dating or just in the relationship, right? That partnership means that I'm going the distance with you at all cost and all energy. That is where we really truly show our love and our commitment to somebody. And that is in those elder years, those golden years, is where we get the opportunity to really truly be a partner. Be committed, be in love, because it is about friendship. It is about companionship in those years. And those things are based on love and commitment, right? So if you're out there and you're looking for this partnership, your soulmate, this significant other, life partner, as a lot of people say, I want my life partner. Well, what does life partner mean to you? And are you willing to really, truly give exactly what it is going to need and require? Or do you just want the pretty little package over here, the fun moment, the connection, a little bit of a travel buddy, somebody to do other things with, right? But you're not really wanting the deep commitment. Or are you expecting it from them, but not willing it to give it to them? Because there's a lot of that going around, a lot of that going around. So, okay, I could go on and on and on about this subject. I just want to bring it back to, what providing really truly means. It's not just about money. It's about providing our energy. It's providing our time. It's about providing that companionship for the long haul. Providing means a big scope of relationship. Committed relationship is about providing to each other, knowing what you're willing to give and what you're not willing to give, and vocalizing it to this potential partner of yours, mate of yours. That needs to happen early on. I'm not talking about the first 2 or 3 dates. I am talking about the first 6 months, because you don't want to spend 6 months in with somebody, a year in with somebody, 2 years in with somebody, have your whole world wrapped up in this person, to find out that on this big topic that you're drastically different people. And then next, right? 2 years of that, that's a long time to spend. It does take about 2 years if you're just dating. It takes about 2 years for the mask to come down and for the real person to be revealed. Well, this conversation around protection, the heart, not just of the physical, right, but of the heart and of the mind, and providing, all the providing needs to happen early on. You can save yourself a lot of months, a lot of years, a lot of heartache by just opening your mouth and having the conversation. Okay, off to a client call I go. I hope that this was informative for you. I'd love to hear your comments. If you want any information to go into those conversations with that potential partner of yours, you'd like to know, how do I address these kind of challenging conversations, these difficult conversations? How can I best set the stage for it? What are the questions I need to be asking myself so that I know what my boundaries are, what my needs are, what my desires are for these relationship containers? Reach out to me. Pop the questions into the comments section. DM me. I'm here for you. As always, stop existing, start living, and I'll catch you another day.